Picture this. You're standing in the high boreal forest, or maybe the alpine tundra of the far north. The landscape is raw, shaped by a wind that never seems to stop and temperatures that can be pretty unforgiving. It's right here, in this incredibly harsh but beautiful world, that we find our subject today, a small flower with a huge impact, the northern windflower.
You see, in these really delicate places, survival hinges on a foundation that's complex and honestly often totally overlooked. I'm talking about the architecture of the forest floor. And today, we're going to explore how this one, really unassuming plant acts as a cornerstone species, a quiet little engineer that's literally holding the earth together.
All right, let's get started. First up, the forest's quiet architect. We're about to uncover the incredible ecological power hiding inside this small but, believe me, mighty plant.
Okay, before we go even one step further, I need to be absolutely clear. This entire explainer is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not medical advice. The Anemone family of plants has some seriously bioactive and potentially toxic compounds. Please do not even think about handling or using this plant without consulting a qualified expert first. Seriously.
So, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at its role as that quiet architect in the ecosystem. Then we'll zoom in on its anatomy for proper identification. After that, we'll dive into its incredible history, get into the potent chemistry, that toxin/tonic idea, and we'll wrap up with how to respect, recognize, and conserve this amazing species.
So, what do we mean by architect? Well, just look at where this thing thrives. These are not easy places to grow. Up in the alpine tundra, it's a pioneer, colonizing bare, exposed rock. But its most critical work, that happens down in the ravine forests and along stream banks. In that damp, easily eroded soil, its root system acts like a net, binding the earth, stabilizing the slopes, and stopping the spring meltwater from just washing the whole hillside away. It's a key player in keeping our watershed secure. But, to really appreciate it, you have to be able to find it, and more importantly, know for sure that you've found the right one.
Which brings us to the anatomy of the windflower itself. And listen, given how potent this plant is, 100% positive identification isn't just a good idea, it's absolutely non-negotiable. So we're going to break down the key markers you have to know.
So here's one of the most fascinating things about this flower, a little botanical secret. It's what we call apetalous. Now, what does that mean? It means the plant doesn't have any true petals. Those beautiful white things we think of as the flower, they're actually sepals that just look like petals. Just remembering that little fact is a huge first step to getting the ID right.
Okay, so the devil is in the details here. Anemone parviflora has one and only one upward-facing flower per stem. Its leaves are pretty distinct too. They're deeply cut into 3 fan-shaped parts. But here's the real tell. Look closely at those sepals. On top, they're white, but on the underside, especially when it's still a bud, you'll see this beautiful, distinctive blue or purple tint. That feature, combined with that single, solitary flower, is your absolute critical diagnostic marker. So now we're going to move from pure botany into ethnobotany. This plant isn't some new discovery. It has this incredibly rich, deep history of human interaction, a story that's been woven through cultures all the way from ancient Rome to the first peoples of North America.
You can actually watch that journey play out over centuries. The Romans saw it as a kind of talisman, a charm against disease. Fast forward to the 19th century, and you have settlers learning from indigenous traditions, using it to treat what they called melancholy. And today, modern herbalists know it as a super potent, low-dose remedy for things like acute anxiety. But maybe the most sophisticated, incredible use comes from the Gwich'in people.
Now just pause and think about this for a moment. This isn't just folklore. This is an early and frankly masterful form of aerosolized medicine. By burning the woolly seed heads, the Gwich'in were able to release the plant's volatile compounds in a very controlled way to create an effective headache treatment. I mean, that shows such a profound understanding of the plant's chemistry and its power.
And that potent chemistry is exactly what we're going to dive into next. Welcome to what I call the blade's edge, the place where this plant's properties as both a dangerous toxin and a powerful tonic come from the exact same source.
The key player here, the star of the show, is a compound called Protoanemonin. It's this volatile, pretty aggressive oil that you find in the fresh plant. It's what gives the plant that acrid, burning taste. It's a powerful irritant, really, a defense mechanism for the plant. And paradoxically, it's also the source of its most powerful medicinal effects.
So how does this work? Well, it's a really fascinating bit of chemistry. The living, untouched plant contains a totally harmless substance called rhizomes. But the moment you bruise or cut the plant, an enzyme is released that instantly transforms it into that highly active caustic oil, Protoanemonin. But here's the real twist. If you dry the plant, this unstable oil basically links to itself and becomes a completely different and far less toxic compound called anemonin.
And this chemical transformation is exactly why the state of the plant matters so much. The fresh plant, which is full of that Protoanemonin, is caustic and incredibly potent. It's what herbalists use for acute conditions like panic attacks. The dried plant, on the other hand, with its anemonin, isn't caustic and it just doesn't have the same medicinal punch. All the magic is in the fresh plant's volatile chemistry.
And when we say potent, we really mean it. A typical starting dose for a tincture made from this fresh plant isn't droppers full. It is 1 to 5 drops. That's it. That alone should tell you just how powerful and potentially dangerous this medicine is. It demands absolute respect.
Which brings us right to our final section, a guide to responsible appreciation. This is all about respecting the plant's power, recognizing it with 100% accuracy, and helping to conserve its fragile home.
And recognizing it also means knowing what it isn't. These are some of its most common and dangerous lookalikes. Notice the key differences. The narcissus-flowered anemone, it usually has a whole cluster of flowers, not just one. And the cut-leafed anemone has leaves that look almost feathery. They're dissected into these fine little segments. So let's say it again. The most reliable field marks for our plant are that one solitary flower and that unmistakable blue tint on the back of its sepals.
Now, while the species itself is considered globally secure, its unique habitats, not so much. Those fragile ravine ecosystems are under constant threat from development and degradation. Protecting these specific places, these little pockets of biodiversity, is so important. The best thing you can do is support local conservation groups that are focused on protecting watersheds and native plant communities. That's how we make sure this quiet architect can keep doing its amazing work. So, we end with this thought. Here we have a plant that is beautiful, dangerous, and medicinally profound all at once. It literally engineers its own ecosystem and carries inside it centuries of human wisdom. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other simple wildflowers are out there, holding secrets that we haven't even begun to ask about?